Geese for years have been cooked incorrectly. They still are cooked incorrectly. So you can't cook it like a duck, you can't cook it like a chook, you can't cook it like a turkey. You've got to cook it like a goose.
This is The Producers. I'm Dani Valent. Lucy Mackenzie and her husband Herb were running a drought-affected cattle farm with cash flow issues when they decided to branch out into free-range geese. It's been hard. It's been huge. They moved the whole operation from New South Wales to Victoria on the eve of the pandemic. But along the way, U Goose has won the hearts of some of Australia's top chefs and turned Lucy Mackenzie into a huge goose freak.
My name's Lucy Mackenzie, and my husband and I, Herb, and our family, we are geese producers. So we started U Goose back in 2014, and we were based in northern New South Wales. My husband was a fifth generation farmer up there, so basically the reason why we got into it was because of years of drought and hardship, and we're also cattle producers, so we'd moved our trading cattle operation from a trade operation where we're having a lot of cash flow coming in over summer months to a seed stock operation, so we sell Angus bulls as well. So we had a massive cash flow gap. So we needed to be setting the price of something instead of being price takers. And we needed to find a product that we could set the price on, basically, and have a unique product that no one else was doing in the country. And probably drinking far too much alcohol in the drought, but we kept sort of searching for something that was completely different, unique, that suited the climate that we're in up in Llangollen, which is just north of Guyra in the New England. So it snows, it's cold, but suited our operation, and we sort of fell upon geese. So U Goose was sort of born then. Our mates thought we'd completely lost the plot. So we kept it quiet, what we were doing, for quite a while. And then we sort of slowly sort of built from there to be completely integrated from conception to the plate there. And then we made the extremely tough decision to relocate and sell at the start of 2020 to Victoria, down to South Gippsland. So that's where I'm from. And we've completely rebuilt down here. So that's sort of where we're at.
Cattle and geese aren't an obvious fit, but a seasonal heritage bird actually fits in well with Lucy Mackenzie's farming operations. How did she land on geese?
We wanted something. So a dear friend, we were throwing around ideas, and I won't mention this gorgeous girl's name, but she's fantastic with ideas. And we wanted something that we knew. We didn't want it so intensive that it was like a dairy, but we wanted something basically that we could put out in the paddock and that could potentially graze with the cattle or graze with the sheep. And initially, I suppose when we fell across geese, I suppose if we knew what we knew now about geese, we probably wouldn't go into it. It's an extremely complex industry, and they're extremely finicky birds. But yeah, we just sort of, I don't know, we sort of fell in love with the idea of it. And I think, as I said before, having something that suited our operation, suited our cash flow gap, knowing that the product would be ready at a time we had that cash flow gap, that also suited something. And we didn't want something that was like a broiler farm or like, a conventional duck farm, like, Pepe's or Love a Duck with Peking ducks, because there's already so much of that in the market. We wanted something that was different, that was unique, that had a bit of heritage about it, that had a bit of prestige about it, something that was seasonal, something that was, different, that not every man and his dogs eats all the time, something that's something that when you have it, you sort of remember having it, and it is unique and special. But on the flip side of it, and this is why we wanted to get into it, we also wanted everyone from every walk of life to be able to experience goose, because goose is seasonal. They're like cattle and sheep, they only lay once a year. But we've made our range of products so that everyone from any budget can have a goose experience. So people that, may not be able to afford a whole goose at Christmas can still afford a confit leg. If it's an older widow or a gentleman that still wants an awesome Christmas treat, they can still afford that, or a rendered jar of goose fat. So that's sort of, I probably haven't answered your question, but that's probably sort of where we're at, and that's sort of what we're aiming for, that everyone gets a bit of goose.
Leaving a generational farm, moving a family interstate, and rebuilding a paddock-to-plate farm is an enormous decision and a massive commitment. Lucy explains the move to Gippsland.
It was a mixture of things, but we thought we needed to be in an area. We're in the business of growing grass, and we need to be in a reliable climate. The New England is reliable, but it's not as reliable as South Gippsland. So it was one of the hardest decisions we've ever had to make, and I'll never appreciate how hard it was for my husband. But we bought a beautiful property in South Gippsland. It's quite a famous property, actually. It's called Tullaree, and there's been a few books written about it, actually, called Lady of the Swamp. So we're hopefully eventually we'll be doing some sort of food degustation days in the garden again, and people used to go and do ghost tours there, that sort of thing. So I don't know if there's many ghosts there because our kids are so mad and crazy, but we'll be doing stuff again there soon. But it's the rebuild has been different states, different laws, different councils. If someone said to us, because we pulled all the facilities down and pulled everything down to move to Victoria, the rebuild has been exceptionally challenging, but we're nearly there. We're nearly there. It's just taken a bit longer, I suppose, than what we initially thought when we moved here at the start of COVID.
You're doing what? U Goose wasn't received with universal enthusiasm when they moved into the neighbourhood. Local scepticism has been yet another challenge to deal with.
It's taken a while for the few of the locals to get their heads around. There's quite a few traditional people that are around us. So I think that anyone that's doing something different, because we're, I suppose, in terms of free range geese, we're probably the largest people in Australia doing it. And I think people are scared of anything that's different or untoward. So when people knew that we were coming here to do this, a lot of people thought, oh my God, it's going to be this huge conventional broiler farm. There's going to be sheds everywhere. And we haven't had one of the neighbours saying their cattle's going to choke on the feathers, which is just outrageous. Geese only molt once a year. But they don't understand that geese are just like cattle and sheep. I mean, we move them with a Kelpie. They're just there doing their thing, not sort of affecting anything or hurting anyone. And then the goslings are all processed before 6 months of age. So the geese, they're at the end of their lay now, and they lay for a couple of months. We either let them sit if their nests are fantastic, or we incubate the eggs, and then if they're green geese processed before Christmas, then nothing's processed under 12 weeks of age, and they're processed before 6 months of age.
The U Goose gang is a mixture of breeders and commercial birds. Demand is strong, but Lucy cautions that goose farming isn't for everyone.
Oh, well, we have normally 3,000 breeders. 3,000 breeding geese, and then each year it varies with the amount of goslings that we get, or how many that we put back into the gaggle, because we sort of have a stud gaggle and a commercial gaggle. So anyone that's cattle-minded will sort of understand that. And then we sell all of our goslings on a first in best dress basis. So we're still continuing to get phone calls now from a heap of people wanting geese. We have sold out, which is fantastic this year. But I wish I had a few more this season, but it's just, we thought that COVID actually was going to be, we were a bit nervous with COVID, but it didn't affect us at all, COVID, with the numbers and the demand and drive for people that are wanting to get into it. But if I could say that there's so many people that often ring ring us up and say, I'm going to become the next goose producer and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I just, if I could say, just urge with caution, they are exceptionally difficult to process. And I just get so excited about the other types of protein that are so undiscovered still, that I wish someone would just basically grab the bull by the horns with and leap on. I think we still need a lot more free-range quail producers, more free-range pheasant producers. There's a fantastic bloke in Poorong that sort of jumped on that, John. He's doing a fantastic job with that. But there's just so many of these heritage breeds and heritage poultry that really need to be, rekindled and produced again, because they're just, I just think it's imperative and something. If you're wanting cash flow and regularity, geese probably aren't your best thing, because we've done geese to fit into our program, I suppose, with cattle.
Popular in nursery rhymes, geese are often viewed with sentimentality, which can make farming them for meat a little tricky. As Lucy explains, successful farming is about education as much as production.
But I think the hardest thing with geese is that people still associate goose as a pet. So we are often abused for what we do. But I'm goose mad, I'm goose obsessed. If I go to the shops and see anything goose themed, I have to buy it. So it's we've got other poultry as well. You know, the kids have got chooks. My son's got about 100 budgies. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we also, do some ducks, or we can grow it and cater to chefs' requirements of other, guinea fowl or whatever the chefs want. So, but overseas, there's not this thought process of goose being pets, and this is where it's so different in Australia. And our biggest challenge, I suppose, and we're so close, is educating people with the geese. As I said before, everyone can have a goose experience, but eating the goose at its best and in season. So we've educated a lot of people since we sort of started in 2014, but it's we've still got a way to go, but I think we're making some progress.
Producing geese is one thing, building demand is another. Lucy explains how she first got the word out with chefs and worked with them to create the exact results they were after.
How did I start to sell my geese? So my major was marketing at uni after ag college. So I've often been told I can flog ice to Eskimos. So I annoyed the bejesus out of chefs, Dani, till they said yes. I just kept ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. Which a lot of meat, I went to meat distributors as well, but I went to the chefs who I idolised and that I wanted the product to go to. So at that stage, Phil Wood was at Rockpool. Patrick Friesen was down at Manly. So different styles and quite a few other people, went straight to Matt Moran in Adara at Sydney, obviously, because we could fly down there. And Ross Lusted, the geese also were at Noma when he was here as well. But I pestered just the bejingos out of people, gave them samples and said, tell me what you think honestly. And this was before we actually had our own processing facility. What needs to change? What don't you like? Is it crap? Do you want more cover on the birds? Do you like this breed of bird? If it was an Asian client, I said, do you want more European influence, less European influence? I asked them what they wanted. And then we sort of went from there. So we custom processed to the client's requirements and gave them what they want. And I think that was a fantastic starting point for our product in the industry.
Goose isn't a regular dinner table poultry. What does it actually taste like? And what should buyers be aware of when buying and cooking it?
So eating goose, so I often say to people, Eating goose is just for the common person that doesn't have any idea what goose is like, is a cross between a duck and lamb without the gaminess of a duck, but obviously it depends who's cooking it for you. And I'm not quite sure if this was recorded before, but when we first got into the geese, they were saying to both Herb and I, if you put a goose and a rock in the pot, when the rock rises to the top, the goose will be ready. So that got us really worried initially about how people have been cooking goose for generations. And it's especially important, if you're not buying one of our geese, that you make sure that it is 100% goose and it is 100% under 6 months of age. And if the producer that is making it can't give you those guarantees, then it's probably going to be unbelievably tough. So there's some fantastic fail-safe recipes that you can go to if you're starting out, and the best ones are normally the Maggie Beer apple and sage stuffed goose. And Jamie Oliver, I think, has got a spiced a goose recipe as well, and that's got fantastic fail-safe cooking guidelines on there. So long and slow, not fast. But yeah, so that's sort of a bit of a summarised version of that one.
No farming is easy, but geese offer particular challenges, especially at scale. From testosterone oversupply to the vagaries of incubation and feeding, Lucy outlines some of the difficulties.
There's a difference between getting into geese and doing them as a backyarder and having a little incubator and saying, oh yeah, I get, this many geese a year, compared to having a fully fledged commercial incubation facility like we've got and, doing it commercially. It's chalk and cheese. You can't compare the two. And people can say, oh, well, there's similarities, but as soon as you've got your pet geese that might have 3 sets a year for you because you feed them scraps every day, put those geese into a gaggle of 3,000, testosterone central with those ganders, it's completely different. So it's having the the challenges with mass incubation, the variety of egg sizes, and incubation has been a massive challenge for us. I'm not lying about that. But this and just having the knowing, and we've sort of got it down pat now, knowing exactly when to process, maybe having to adjust your time of processing during the weather, exactly knowing what diet you should have them on. Like, they're all on grass ad lib all the time. They're never not on grass. But what extra feed, ad lib you should be offering them to get the best bang for your buck. But, we have these feeders out in the paddock for them. They can stay at the feeders all day if they want, or they can be on the grass all day if they want. But they're a very expensive bird to grow. And to get to the knowledge base that we are now, it's cost a huge amount of money. So if anyone's wanting to get into it, all I say to you is please do your research. And if you don't have really deep pockets, maybe look at something that's going to maybe have more regular cash flow. And there's so many proteins that aren't being utilised. So, but I'm happy to talk to anyone about it. But yeah, it's we love them, but they are a challenge.
U Goose is on the up, but there's further to go. Lucy talks about some of her plans for the future.
I think just growing, continuing to I'm just wanting to get as many people exposed to goose as I can in a good way, and know that we're not, killing pets as such, and that, we do love our birds. Like, we adore them, and they're part of the whole system. They're, and to grow these other products that I'm so excited about. My cousin, she's gorgeous, Laura Hall. She's up at Scone with her hats, Philly design. So we've got a couple of things sort of in the pipeline with wanting to do some stuff extend more stuff with millinery. So no, it's just not only food and meat, but some other things. But I don't want to say too much. So, but yeah, lots of exciting things on the horizon.
Lucy loves farming geese for many reasons, but the low waste approach is a big one, with almost every part of the animal valued and processed.
People often say they like our geese because they like the story. I suppose of how we started and how the geese sort of live their life with us and what we sort of do. But I like geese because it's such an exciting protein and we waste nothing basically. So the only thing that is wasted at this stage by us is that's composted is the intestine. That is it. Everything else on the bird is used that we have a market for. So the heart we sell, the giblet we sell, the head's either kept on or we sell, the tongue sold, the feet are sold, the feathers are utilised, and we're developing new products with that. Don't want to go into a lot of detail at the minute with that, but we're developing some super exciting stuff with that. And the goose eggs, obviously the unfertilised ones, we've got a phenomenal Aboriginal artist who works with us to make completely each egg's individually painted, that has its own story. So they're really special. So people can either buy those for Christmas decorations or Easter decorations. And then obviously the goose eggs that have embryos that have died in them, we could potentially sell those to the Asian market. I can't bring myself to sell them at the minute because I'm afraid they'll explode. So they're composted. But that's what I love about it, is that we hardly have any waste. They're pasture animals, and look, they do work into our into what we do. So, but I am goose mad, I do admit. It's always changing. I suppose there's never ever 2 days like we're busy with we're flat out busy with the kids, especially this time of year. But there are never any 2 days on the property that are ever the same. We're a bit crazy loopy, but some days we wish we were a bit more sane and like what's normal these days, but just the variety in what we do, I suppose, and that we're sort of on the journey together doing it.
Goose is a specialty meat that many Australians go their whole lives without trying. Lucy Mackenzie and her family at U Goose are working to change that, farming heritage birds as part of an integrated model that improves soil, steadies cash flow, and provides diverse and delicious products to market. This is The Producers, a Deep in the Weeds production. I'm Dani Valent. Stay tuned as we talk to some of Australia's best farmers, makers and growers. Follow us on Instagram at Producers Podcast or contact us via deepintheweeds.com.au.